Kate Garraway shares the raw and emotional story of the devastating impact that COVID-19 has had on her family, and how they are finding strength in hope. In March 2020, Kate Garraway's husband, Derek Draper, contracted COVID-19 and was placed in a medically induced coma. Initially, Kate was told that he would not survive. A year later, he was still in hospital. Now at home but requiring round-the-clock care, he is thought to be the UK's longest fighting COVID-19 patient. Such a strong, brave lady. I was completely hooked on Kate's story from the first page to the last. I've cried tears and smiled smiles. I literally couldn't put this book down and read until I found myself turning the last page. If ever there was a definition of hope, it was and is Kate Garraway. It is a gentle read. Probably because Kate Garraway seems like quite a gentle person. Been following the story on TV, so I wanted to buy the book to understand more. What I have read so far is very inspiring and also very emotional at the same time. I originally bought this for a clinical read rather than an inspirational one, but the medical detail is far less than I expected. It really is the journey of a woman who doesn't want to give up on her husband, and she should be very proud of herself. As with many people, I have followed Kate and Derek's story from when he was initially diagnosed with COVID and had to be admitted to hospital. I have been in awe of Kate as to how she has managed with an ill husband, taking care of the home and children, and also having to go to work. Derek Draper is at the far extreme of this scale. His doctors even queried whether he was meant to have lived. Sadly, he caught COVID early enough in the pandemic that treatments that could have mitigated his outcome were not yet available. As such, doctors were learning all the time, and Derek's case has brought new knowledge to help future patients, one form of hope Kate Garraway brings out in her book. Kate and her family's courageous battle over the last year is told with such candour that you feel personally drawn into their situation. Closing the book feels wrong, as it is still ongoing, and the hope that Kate underpins the book with is constantly being buffeted and challenged. No one can fail to admire the stoic and tenacious way that she deals with what fate has dealt out, and the love that has driven her efforts to do everything possible to save Derek, and give him back what family life can be possible. Her strength is incredible, and the children too. My only criticism is the fact that, due to her profile, she had the weight of the celeb, medical world on her side. Elton John, Prince Charles, amongst others, all offering help and support. Many people in Derek's position would not have been this fortunate, and many would have died without the medical care that Derek was lucky enough to receive. I was hooked from the very first word. I have cried, laughed, and suffered every emotion. Such a strong lady who, apart from anything else, has taught me hope. But there are parts that are very sad, and I feel desperately sorry for their little family. I would say it's probably a tad long, and I skim-read the last third of it. For over a year the whole world has been living the nightmare of COVID, but for those of us lucky enough to be relatively unaffected, it's easy to look at the cost merely as statistics. And the death toll is terrible, but that overlooks the numbers of people whose lives have been changed forever without becoming a part of the death statistic. Not just the survivors who are living with life-changing physical and psychological conditions, but those who love and care for them. Once I started reading this book, I couldn't stop until I had reached the end. Very well written, very informative, at times heartrending, but an absolute must-read. Truly heartbreaking. I would recommend buying this book and trying to just imagine what they, and thousands like them, went through in the last year. A difficult year for most, but some far worse than others. My heart breaks for them. Kate's exceptional courage, positivity, and warmth shine through on every page, making The Power of Hope a truly inspiring read that will resonate with all of us whose lives continue to be touched by the virus. Click link in description for more reviews.